Okay, so let's take a look at some other 16th note combinations. We've had straight 16th notes, which are 1E and an eighth note followed by 2/16, which is 1 and the reverse of that, which is 2/16 followed by an eighth, that's 1E and all the different combinations that go along with that. That was all on pages 26 and 27. These actually come from the Blue Book, the Essential Elements Blue Book. Moving on to the next page, we're looking at a different one where it is 16th notes, but now it's a dotted eighth note. Now, a dot, as you remember, adds 1/2 of the note's original value back to it. So an eighth note by itself gets a half of a beat, so you divide a half into a half, that's a quarter, and so you do the math on that, and it's technically 3/4 of a beat, okay? And let's say each of these are worth a quarter of a beat, not a quarter note, that's a different thing altogether, a quarter of a beat. Take something like a circle, divide it into 4 parts, and it's divided into quarters. Well, here's one beat divided into 4 different parts, 1E and I'm going to take 3/4 of that, and that's my beat, 1E and So I'm left over with the Those first 3/16 notes are joined together, 1E and 1E and So it's a very long note. It's almost the length of a quarter note. And then I go 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and So if I do that in the air, 1E and 2E and 1E and 2E and okay? So it's a down, down, up, up, down, down, up, up. These are what we call hooked bows. They work really well with the dotted 8th, 16th notes. And the dotted 8th, 16ths aren't always notated that way, but a lot of times you will see it that way. So we're going to use the hooked bow. So again, that's 1E and 2E and 1E and 2E and or if you're in 4/4, 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and This is a rhythm that is oftentimes misinterpreted. So we want to make sure that that dotted eighth gets its full value. In fact, like I say, it's almost like a quarter note. If I were to just go like this, those are quarters. So I'm just going to break it up at the very end, thinking in my mind, 1E and So you can see the difference, how long the first note is, followed by a very short note, a little flick of the wrist for the hooked bow, and then another long bow, and then again just a little flick of the wrist. And you want to think 1E and 2E and So if I look at number 120, this is the rhythm rap. I'm going to go ahead and do this with the bow, so you get an idea of how long or how short each of these notes is going to be. So I've got hooked bows at the beginning, 1E and 2E and 1E and 2 and 1E and 2E and 1E and 2 and that sounds like this on the D string. 1E and 2E and 1 and 2E and And so I do a little bit of a staccato on the eighth notes. It's not written that way, but I think it gives it some definition. So if I take that same rhythm and I look at number 121, it's going to add some notes to it. It's just kind of gradually going up the scale, not very far at all, from D up to F sharp. And then 122 is more of a scale kind of pattern, using your hooked bows, using your dotted 8th, 16th. Okay, and that's the proper term for that too, because it is an eighth note with a dot on it, followed by a 16th. Now, don't get confused by the dots that are on the bottom side of the note heads or maybe on the top side of the note heads, those are staccato markings. We're looking at the dots that are right next to the note, that are to the right of the note head. All right, so here's number 122. 1E and a 2. Ready? And now go. Okay, so take that information, apply what you've learned. 1E and that's all together. 1E and hook the bows on those and work through all of those exercises. Number 120, 121, 122, 123, 124, and then 125. That's a nice challenge. All right, so if you have any questions on those, reach out to me in the Google Classroom. I'll be glad to help.